The presence of Taylor Swift at NFL games has evolved far beyond a casual celebrity appearance, emerging instead as a cultural phenomenon that is reshaping how the league is viewed, consumed, and discussed. What began as a personal show of support for Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce has quickly grown into a story with measurable impact on ratings, audience demographics, media coverage, and the broader intersection between sports and global pop culture. The first televised shots of Taylor Swift sitting in a VIP suite at Arrowhead Stadium seemed harmless, almost incidental. Cameras briefly captured her reactions, smiling, clapping, leaning forward during tense plays, before returning to the field. Yet those few seconds of airtime ignited a wave of attention that spread rapidly across social media platforms, entertainment outlets, and sports newsrooms alike. Within hours, clips of her presence were trending worldwide, often rivaling the game highlights themselves. Search engine data reflected the shift almost immediately. Queries related to Travis Kelce surged to unprecedented levels, while combinations of Taylor Swift NFL and Taylor Swift Chiefs game became some of the most searched terms in the United States. Merchandise sales followed the same pattern. Kelce's jersey sales reportedly skyrocketed in the days following Swift's appearances, signaling that interest was coming not only from traditional football fans, but also from a new audience drawn in by the pop superstar's visibility. Broadcast networks quickly adapted. During games attended by Swift, directors increasingly incorporated reaction shots into the live feed, subtly altering the rhythm of NFL broadcasts. The tempo of coverage shifted, blending the intensity of professional football with moments of celebrity-driven spectacle. Analysts noted that these changes did not reduce viewership. Instead, ratings data showed notable increases, particularly among women and younger viewers, demographics the NFL has long sought to engage more deeply. The league itself did not formally announce any changes in strategy, yet the effect was undeniable. NFL games suddenly became a recurring topic in entertainment media, with outlets that rarely covered football now publishing game recaps, relationship speculation, and cultural analysis. This crossover exposure pushed the league further into mainstream global conversation, extending its reach beyond core sports audiences. At the center of the attention stood Travis Kelce, whose on-field reputation as one of the NFL's elite tight ends was already firmly established. However, the spotlight surrounding him intensified dramatically. Every touchdown, celebration, and sideline moment was amplified, often accompanied by shots of Swift reacting from the stands. Despite the added scrutiny, Kelce maintained a high level of performance, reinforcing his status as a key contributor to the Chiefs' continued success. Criticism did surface. Some fans and commentators questioned whether the focus on a celebrity figure distracted from the integrity of the game. Others expressed concern about overexposure and the potential for audience fatigue. Yet these concerns were consistently outweighed by the data. Games featuring Swift continued to draw higher-than-average viewership, and social media engagement reached levels rarely seen during regular season matchups. As the season progressed, the phenomenon showed no signs of fading. Each appearance reignited conversation, producing viral moments that dominated timelines during and after games. The NFL, an institution often viewed as traditional and resistant to change, appeared to benefit from this unexpected cultural alignment without sacrificing its core identity. The peak of the attention arrived during nationally televised, high-stakes games, when millions tuned in not only to watch the outcome on the field, but also to witness the atmosphere surrounding it. Reaction shots from the stands became instant headlines, circulating globally within minutes and reinforcing the idea that NFL broadcasts had become part of a larger entertainment ecosystem. What this moment ultimately represents is not a takeover of football by pop culture, but a convergence. Taylor Swift's presence accelerated a shift the NFL had been edging toward for years: greater inclusivity, broader cultural relevance, and deeper engagement across diverse audiences. Without a marketing deal or official partnership, the league found itself benefiting from one of the most powerful cultural forces in the world. Whether this influence proves temporary or marks a lasting evolution remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that the impact has already been felt. The NFL is being watched, discussed, and experienced in new ways, and the catalyst for that shift can be traced back to a single figure in the stands: cheering, reacting, and unintentionally changing the narrative of America's most popular sports league. Beyond the immediate spikes in ratings and online engagement, industry insiders began to notice deeper structural implications. Advertising slots during games attended by Taylor Swift quietly increased in value, as brands recognized the rare overlap between sports audiences and pop culture-driven consumers. Sponsors that traditionally targeted male-dominated demographics suddenly found themselves reaching younger viewers, first-time NFL watchers, and international audiences who had previously shown little interest in American football. For marketers, this convergence was not accidental, it was historic. International media coverage further amplified the effect. Outlets across Europe, Asia, and South America, regions where Taylor Swift commands massive fan bases, started reporting on NFL game results with an emphasis rarely seen outside the Super Bowl. In countries where American football remains a niche sport, clips of Swift reacting to touchdowns became an accessible entry point. For many viewers, this was their first sustained exposure to the NFL, delivered not through technical analysis, but through emotion, narrative, and familiarity. The league's digital platforms reflected this expansion in real time. NFL social media accounts experienced sharp increases in follower growth, video views, and engagement rates during weeks when Swift attended games. Comment sections filled with users openly admitting they were watching an NFL game for the first time. Rather than alienating longtime fans, the influx appeared to coexist alongside them, creating a layered audience that consumed the same product for different reasons. Behind the scenes, league executives reportedly monitored the trend closely. While the NFL avoided public statements framing Swift's presence as a strategy, internal data reportedly showed sustained audience retention beyond the initial novelty phase. Viewers who tuned in out of curiosity did not immediately drop off. Many continued watching full games, suggesting that the sport itself retained their interest once the door had been opened. This development challenged long-standing assumptions about how sports leagues grow. Traditionally, expansion relied on youth programs, regional loyalty, or international exhibitions. In this case, growth arrived organically through cultural relevance. The NFL did not adapt its rules, shorten its games, or simplify its presentation. Instead, it benefited from association, an alignment with a figure whose global influence reshaped perception without altering the product. The cultural ripple effect extended into fan behavior inside stadiums as well. Attendees reported a noticeable shift in atmosphere, with more diverse crowds and a heightened sense of event-like energy. Games felt less isolated as sporting contests and more like shared cultural moments. For a league built on ritual and tradition, this subtle evolution marked a significant shift. Media analysts drew comparisons to previous moments when celebrity influence intersected with sports, but few matched the scale or speed of this phenomenon. Unlike endorsement deals or halftime performances, Swift's involvement was informal, unscripted, and therefore more authentic in the eyes of the public. That authenticity became a key factor in sustaining interest as postseason discussions began. Speculation intensified about how long the momentum could last. Would the attention fade once the season concluded, or had the NFL permanently widened its cultural footprint? Early indicators suggested the latter. Off-season discussions continued to reference the season as a turning point, with analysts citing it as a case study in modern audience engagement. The broader implication is clear. The boundaries between sports, entertainment, and digital culture are no longer rigid. The NFL's experience illustrates how relevance in the modern era is shaped as much by narrative and visibility as by competition itself. A league once defined strictly by athletic performance now exists comfortably within global pop discourse. In the end, the story is less about a single celebrity and more about timing, visibility, and cultural momentum. Taylor Swift's presence did not rewrite the rules of football, but it reframed how the league is seen by millions. The NFL remains the same on the field, yet around it, the conversation has expanded, diversified, and intensified as future seasons unfold. This period will likely be remembered as a pivotal chapter, when America's most popular sports league quietly crossed into a new cultural dimension. What began with a camera zooming into the stands has grown into a broader transformation, one that continues to influence how the NFL is watched, discussed, and understood on a global scale. The long-term consequences of this convergence are still unfolding, but early indicators suggest that the NFL's cultural positioning has permanently shifted. Researchers tracking audience behavior noted that many first-time viewers who tuned in out of curiosity did not disengage after the celebrity spotlight faded. Instead, they began following team storylines, learning player names, and engaging with weekly narratives that define the league's rhythm. In effect, a gateway had been created, one that lowered the barrier to entry for an audience previously indifferent to football. This shift also influenced how stories around the NFL were framed. Coverage became less insular and more contextual, placing games within broader cultural conversations. Headlines increasingly linked matchups to lifestyle trends, fashion moments, and social media movements. While purists initially resisted this reframing, media analytics showed that these blended narratives traveled further, reached wider audiences, and sustained attention longer than traditional game recaps alone. Financial analysts pointed out that the timing could not have been more advantageous, as live sports remain one of the few forms of content resistant to delayed consumption. Any factor that strengthens real-time viewing carries immense value. The added layer of cultural intrigue surrounding certain games reinforced the urgency to watch live, boosting the appeal of broadcast rights packages and advertising inventory. In an era of fragmented media consumption, that urgency is increasingly rare. Team executives across the league quietly took note. While no franchise publicly attributed strategic changes to the phenomenon, several organizations began investing more heavily in lifestyle-oriented content, behind-the-scenes access, and personality-driven storytelling. Players were no longer presented solely as athletes, but as public figures with narratives extending beyond the field. This approach aligned naturally with younger audiences accustomed to following individuals rather than institutions. The effect on player branding was equally significant. Travis Kelce's visibility reached levels typically reserved for quarterbacks or league ambassadors. Yet the broader implication extended to other players as well, as the league demonstrated that crossover appeal was possible without compromising athletic credibility. For athletes, this opened new avenues for personal branding, endorsements, and long-term relevance beyond their playing careers. Critically, the NFL managed to navigate this transformation without triggering a backlash severe enough to reverse momentum. This was due in part to the league's decision not to overemphasize the celebrity angle. Swift's appearances remained contextual rather than central, allowing viewers to choose how much attention they paid. That balance preserved the integrity of the sport while still embracing expanded interest. Sociologists studying sports culture highlighted another dimension: the normalization of diverse fandom. NFL viewership, once narrowly defined by region and tradition, began to reflect a more fluid identity. Fans arrived through different pathways: music, social media, personal curiosity, and coexisted within the same space. This diversity did not weaken the culture. It enriched it.as discussions moved into the off-season. Retrospectives framed the period as a turning point rather than an anomaly. Panels, academic articles, and industry conferences referenced it as evidence that modern sports leagues operate within a larger cultural ecosystem. The NFL, intentionally or not, had become a case study in adaptive relevance. Importantly, this was not about replacing football with spectacle. The competitive product remained the foundation. Close games, high stakes, and elite performance continued to drive loyalty. What changed was the lens through which the league was viewed. Football was no longer isolated from culture. It was embedded within it. Looking forward, analysts suggest that future success will hinge on the league's ability to remain open without becoming performative. Authenticity, they argue, is what sustained interest during this period. Manufactured moments rarely resonate with the same force. The NFL's challenge will be to recognize organic cultural intersections and allow them to develop naturally in the broader context of media evolution. This chapter underscores a fundamental shift. Audiences no longer consume content in silos. Sports compete not just with other sports, but with every form of entertainment available at the same moment. By unintentionally aligning with one of the most influential cultural figures of the era, the NFL demonstrated how relevance can expand without dilution. As time passes, individual details may fade, but the structural impact remains. Audience demographics have widened, global attention has intensified, and the league's cultural elasticity has been proven. What began as a simple act of support in the stands evolved into a moment that redefined perception. In hindsight, the question is no longer whether Taylor Swift changed the NFL, but what the NFL learned about itself in the process. The league discovered that it could absorb cultural energy, adapt its presentation, and welcome new audiences without losing its core identity. That realization may prove more influential than any single season, shaping how the NFL approaches the future of sports entertainment in an increasingly interconnected world. That realization has begun to influence how the NFL is discussed at the highest strategic levels. Media rights negotiations, international expansion plans, and digital platform strategies are now increasingly framed around cultural reach rather than raw competition alone. Executives understand that visibility in today's media landscape is no longer driven solely by championships or rivalries, but by moments that resonate emotionally and travel seamlessly across platforms. The Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce narrative demonstrated how quickly those moments can scale. A single camera cut, repeated across broadcasts, clips, and social feeds, created a feedback loop that amplified attention far beyond the stadium. Each appearance generated anticipation before kickoff, sustained engagement during the game, and extended conversation long after the final whistle. In media terms, the NFL achieved something rare: relevance that extended beyond the event itself. This ripple effect was particularly evident in global markets. In regions where American football traditionally struggled to gain traction, engagement metrics showed measurable growth. International broadcasters reported spikes in viewership, while NFL-related content appeared more frequently in mainstream news outlets abroad. The sport, once perceived as complex and insular, suddenly felt approachable, framed through familiar cultural touchstones rather than technical barriers. Cultural critics have since pointed out that the phenomenon reflects a broader shift in how audiences assign value. Viewers increasingly seek connection, story, and personality alongside performance. The NFL's ability to accommodate this shift without abandoning its competitive core suggests a maturity that was not always associated with the league. Instead of resisting the moment, it allowed the narrative to coexist with the sport. This coexistence also influenced how fans interacted with one another. Online spaces that once centered strictly on play calling and statistics began hosting broader conversations. Fans debated not just formations and matchups, but atmosphere, presentation, and cultural impact. While this diversification initially caused friction, it ultimately expanded the community, making it more representative of the modern media audience. From a historical perspective, comparisons have been drawn to past inflection points in sports media, such as the rise of athlete branding in the late 1990s or the explosion of social media in the 2010s. Yet this moment differs in one key respect. It was not driven by institutional change. There was no rebrand, no policy shift, no official campaign. The impact emerged organically, shaped by audience behavior rather than corporate intent. That organic quality is why analysts believe the effects will be long-lasting. Trends imposed from the top often fade when attention moves on. Trends embraced by audiences tend to recalibrate expectations. In this case, viewers became accustomed to a broader, more culturally integrated NFL experience. Having seen the league function comfortably within that space, they are unlikely to revert entirely to narrower framing. The implications extend to future storytelling around the league. Broadcasters are now more attuned to the power of human context. Background stories, emotional reactions, and off-field moments are no longer treated as peripheral content, but as integral elements that enhance understanding and investment. This does not diminish the sport, it deepens it. Players, too, have adapted. With increased exposure comes increased awareness of public presence. Many athletes now engage more deliberately with media, recognizing that visibility can amplify both their performance and their voice. While not every player seeks the spotlight, the pathway is clearer than ever before as new seasons approach. Speculation continues about whether similar moments will emerge again. Industry observers caution against attempting replication. What made this period impactful was its authenticity and timing. Forced imitation would likely undermine the very appeal that made it successful. The lesson, they argue, is not to chase celebrity, but to remain receptive to cultural alignment when it arises naturally. In broader cultural analysis, This chapter reinforces the idea that modern institutions must be porous to remain relevant. The NFL's willingness, intentional or not, to exist at the intersection of sport and culture allowed it to reach audiences it had long sought without alienating its foundation. That balance is difficult to achieve and easy to disrupt, making its success all the more notable. Over time, the headlines will change, new narratives will emerge, and attention will shift elsewhere. Yet, the structural adjustments in audience composition, media framing, and global perception will persist. The league has crossed a threshold, demonstrating adaptability in an era defined by rapid cultural convergence. Ultimately, this extended moment in NFL history will be remembered not for its novelty, but for its insight. It revealed how influence operates in the modern media ecosystem, how audiences discover new interests, and how institutions evolve without formal transformation. The game remained the same, but the context surrounding it expanded dramatically. In that sense, the phenomenon stands as a reminder that cultural change often arrives quietly, carried by moments that feel incidental at first glance. A camera angle, a reaction shot, a familiar face in an unexpected place. Together, they reshaped perception. And in doing so, they added a new chapter to the ongoing story of the NFL, one defined not by rule changes or rebranding, but by relevance in a world where sport and culture are inseparable. As analysts continue to dissect this period, another layer of impact becomes increasingly clear: the shift in how the NFL measures success. For years, the league's benchmarks revolved around ratings, attendance, and revenue. While those metrics remain central, the Taylor Swift-era spotlight introduced a new variable: cultural penetration. Success is now also measured by how often the NFL enters conversations beyond sports, how frequently it appears in lifestyle media, and how deeply it embeds itself in everyday digital discourse. This shift has implications for future broadcasting deals. Networks are no longer selling games solely as sporting events, but as cultural spectacles capable of generating conversation across multiple platforms. Advertisers, in turn, are rethinking creative strategies. Commercials aired during NFL games are increasingly designed to be shareable, anticipating that moments from the broadcast will circulate far beyond the television screen. The game no longer ends at the final whistle. It continues online, reshaped by audience interpretation. Academics studying media convergence argue that this period exemplifies a broader transformation in live entertainment. In an age dominated by on-demand content, live events must offer more than competition. They must offer relevance. The NFL's inadvertent alignment with global pop culture fulfilled that requirement, reinforcing the league's status as one of the few remaining mass audience experiences. This relevance also affected how younger audiences perceive the league's legacy. For viewers who did not grow up watching football, the NFL was once an abstract institution, distant and unfamiliar. The sudden visibility of a universally recognized figure provided a point of entry. Once inside, these viewers encountered the drama, strategy, and emotional stakes that longtime fans have always valued. The bridge had been built. The phenomenon further demonstrated the power of narrative continuity. Unlike one-off celebrity appearances, the recurring presence of Taylor Swift created an ongoing storyline that evolved week by week. Anticipation built before games, speculation flourished during broadcasts, and discussion lingered afterward. This continuity mirrored serialized storytelling, a format modern audiences are deeply accustomed to consuming. Notably, the league avoided attempting to control that narrative. There were no official storylines promoted, no manufactured angles pushed aggressively. The NFL allowed the audience to participate in meaning-making, an approach that fostered deeper engagement. Fans did not feel marketed to, they felt involved. From a socio-cultural perspective, this openness marked a departure from older models of sports fandom, which often emphasized exclusivity and insider knowledge. The new wave of engagement was inclusive by design. Viewers could enter the conversation at any level, whether through tactical analysis or emotional reaction. This flexibility expanded the league's cultural footprint without eroding its competitive seriousness. As time passes, the immediacy of the moment may fade, but its influence remains embedded in how the NFL operates. Production choices, digital strategies, and audience engagement models have all been subtly recalibrated. The league has seen firsthand how organic cultural intersections can amplify its reach more effectively than traditional campaigns. In retrospect, this period serves as a reminder that transformation does not always arrive through deliberate overhaul. Sometimes it emerges through alignment, when institutions intersect naturally with the broader currents of culture. The NFL did not seek to redefine itself, yet it emerged redefined by circumstance. Ultimately, this chapter underscores a central truth of modern media. Relevance is fluid, shaped by attention, emotion, and shared experience. The NFL's encounter with global pop culture revealed its capacity to evolve without losing its essence. The game stayed the same, but the world watching it grew larger as future seasons unfold. The league will continue to be judged not only by championships and records, but by its ability to remain present in the cultural moment. That presence, once established, is difficult to relinquish. And while the specifics of this phenomenon may belong to a particular time, the lesson it offers will shape how the NFL navigates an increasingly interconnected, story-driven media landscape for years to come.